Before GPS existed, before trail cameras, before rifles with laser sights and calls downloaded from an app, there were frontier hunters like Jim Bridger and Kit Carson who walked into the wilderness and came back with food. Every time. Not because they were lucky, because they understood animals at a level most people today will never experience. They could read a track the way you read a sentence. They could predict where a deer would bed before the deer knew itself. They could lure a predator using nothing but sound and instinct. These were skills passed down through generations, refined over lifetimes, and today, almost every single one of them is gone. Number 1. Ground scent tracking. The first skill, and arguably the most foundational, was true ground scent tracking, not following footprints, following smell. Frontier hunters could crouch over disturbed earth and tell you how old a track was. They measured the moisture level of the soil. They wet a finger and held it over an overturned stone. A cold stone meant a fresh track. A dry, warm indentation meant hours had passed. Apache trackers refined these environmental cues, reading bent twigs and disturbed soil as clearly as written language. More than that, experienced trackers could identify individual animals by their gait pattern alone. A deer that dragged its left rear hoof had a healed injury. A bear that pigeon-toed slightly had been through that territory before. Today, hunters use scent-eliminating sprays and trail cameras. The human nose has been replaced by technology. Almost no one alive can track by ground scent anymore. Number 2. Reading animal body language at distance. Frontier hunters could watch a deer at 300 yards and know, before it moved, whether it was going to bolt, feed, or bed. They read ear position, tail tension, the angle of the head, the placement of the hooves. A tail held slightly elevated meant alertness. Both ears rotating backward meant the animal had already caught human scent and was making a decision. Stiff front legs with weight shifted to the hindquarters meant it was 1 second away from flight. This was not guesswork, it was a precise vocabulary, learned through thousands of hours of observation in the field. Modern hunters rely on tree stands and feeding plots. The ability to read live animal body language in real time has nearly vanished. Number 3. Calling without instruments. Before grunt tubes, before electronic callers, before packaged rattling antlers. Hunters called elk, deer, turkey, and predators using only their mouths and hands. Elk hunters cupped their hands and forced air through pursed lips at precise pitches to replicate a cow elk in estrus. Turkey hunters used a curved leaf pressed to their lips to produce a yelp so accurate it would pull a gobbler across an open field. Mountain men working for the Rocky Mountain Fur Company were documented calling in bull elk during the rut using nothing but their own voices. Sometimes so successfully, the animal charged directly at them. That level of vocal mimicry required years of practice. Today, it is almost entirely gone. Number 4. Deadfall trap architecture. A Paiute deadfall, a figure 4 deadfall, a promontory peg. These were not crude mechanisms. They were precision-engineered devices, balanced to trigger from the weight of a single field mouse if set correctly. The Paiute people of Nevada perfected the balanced deadfall system. Frontier trappers understood the physics of leverage and the behavior of target animals at the same time. The timber selection mattered. Green wood held weight differently than seasoned wood. The trigger notch had to be cut at a specific angle. Cut it wrong and the trap would fail to set or fail to fire. This knowledge was so specialized it died with the men who carried it. Today, very few people in North America could build a functional deadfall trap from raw forest materials. Number 5. Night hunting by sound triangulation. Frontier hunters pursued raccoon, possum, and predators at night, long before flashlights existed. Using only the direction and intensity of sound, experienced hunters could pinpoint the position of a treed animal to within a few feet, accurate enough to climb and retrieve it in total darkness. They also listened for predator sign. A sudden silence in a forest, birds stopping, frogs going quiet, told them something large was moving nearby. They could identify species by footstep cadence on forest debris. A bobcat steps light and deliberate. A black bear has a rolling heavy shuffle. A mountain lion is nearly silent but displaces larger leaves. This skill required a calm nervous system and extraordinary focus. In a world of constant noise, it is effectively extinct. Number 6. Reading weather through animal behavior. Before barometers, before weather satellites, frontier hunters had an accurate forecasting system. They watched animals. Deer feeding heavily in the middle of the day meant a storm was coming within 24 hours. The animals were building energy reserves before the pressure dropped. Squirrels carrying larger caches than normal meant a hard winter ahead. Birds flying low and fast meant a front was moving in within hours. Experienced hunters could read combinations of these signs and plan their entire week. A skilled observer did not need a forecast, the animals gave him one. That ability to read the natural world as a living weather system is nearly lost today. Number 7. Constructing live fish traps from natural materials. Frontier hunters and mountain men who camped near rivers often relied on fish traps, not fishing, for their protein. A stone weir arranged across a shallow stream bend funneled current into a catch basin. Willow or river cane woven into a funnel trap captured fish that swam in and could not find the exit. Placement mattered enormously. The trap had to be set where fish naturally gathered, below a rapid, near a root system on a bend, at the downstream edge of a cold spring seep. Getting it wrong meant no food. Getting it right meant eating well without burning energy on active hunting. The geometry and biology behind these traps is a skill set that has almost entirely vanished from practical knowledge. Number 8. Using animal urine as a directional lure. This was not simply dripping doe urine at a scrape. Frontier hunters understood the social structure of their target species and used scent as a tool to move animals on purpose. By placing dominant buck urine on the approach trail to a bottleneck, they could trigger a subordinate deer's instinct to avoid that path. The deer would take an alternate route, directly through the hunter's position. This required precise knowledge of animal hierarchy, seasonal behavior, and wind direction, and the patience to let the system work without interference. Modern scent products have commercialized the concept, but the nuanced, instinctive application of it as a real-time behavioral tool, that is essentially a lost art. Number 9. Identifying game organ health by sight and smell. When a frontier hunter killed an animal, the field dressing was not just about cooling the meat. It was a diagnostic process. An experienced hunter examined the liver before packing out a single pound of venison. A healthy liver was deep burgundy and firm. A diseased liver showed spots, softness, or discoloration, signs of liver flukes, tuberculosis, or chronic wasting in deer. They assessed kidney fat to judge the animal's nutritional condition and predict how the meat would taste. They checked lymph nodes along the neck for swelling, a potential disease marker. This was veterinary-level applied knowledge, carried by every competent hunter on the frontier. Today, it is rarely taught and almost never practiced. Number 10. Reading sign in snow. The full story of a hunt. A skilled frontier tracker could walk to a fresh snowfall and read what had happened there like a book. Two sets of deer tracks converging, a disrupted snow patch between them. A buck had chased a doe. One set of tracks leaving at a run, the other following at a lope. She was not ready. He was persistent. A third track coming from the east, larger, deeper. A dominant buck had arrived and displaced the first one. A blood drop, a single smear on low brush. A fight had occurred, brief, decisive. All of this from a few sets of tracks in the snow. That ability to reconstruct living events from frozen evidence is the height of animal observation, and it is almost completely gone. These were not just hunting techniques. They were a language, a deep, lived fluency in the natural world that took generations to build. The Boone and Crockett Club still references these fair chase principles in their scoring system, but the practical skills themselves, we traded them for convenience. And most of us did not even notice they were leaving. If you want to see what else the frontier era knew that we have forgotten, there is more where this came from. Hit subscribe. We are just getting started.